Mark Tudor, Struggle for Truth. Mark Tudor is a contemporary painter based in London, known for his figurative paintings which often take the format of the portrait. He is also founder of The Tunnel, a collective of diverse artists who put on exhibitions and art events featuring a range of themes, often inspired by literature and philosophy. Mark Tudor was born in Birmingham in 1976 before studying painting at Wolverhampton University, graduating with a BA Honours degree in painting in 2004 and continuing on his studies with a Masters in Fine Art from Middlesex University in 2011. Tudor is an artist who defines himself strongly as a painter in a contemporary art world where the contemporary multimedia experimentation is increasingly becoming the norm. He describes a formative moment when at the age of 17 he saw a documentary on modern art which featured the infamous work by Pablo Picasso called The Weeping Woman, a moment he describes as being a turning point in his life at the time. Like many teenagers do, he felt like an outsider and that he was leading a directionless life of hedonism, heavily into the metal and techno music scenes along with all the highs and lows that come with it. After viewing The Weeping Woman, he instinctively felt that the artistic life was a life he desired to live, and that would provide him discipline and meaning that would give him direction, and it was then that he committed himself to becoming a painter. Mark believes strongly that painting is a search for the truth, and in his current body of work he uses acrylic and pastel, the main body of work being produced with pastel on grey card. I use acrylic and pastel. My main body of work is pastel on grey because that enables me to realise my ideas more rapidly, whilst the works on canvas are a much slower process. The method I use is a form of reductionism which stems from Frank Auerbach and Leon Kossoff. An admirer of the London school of post-war painters such as Francis Bacon, Auerbach and Leon Kossoff, artists known for their experimental approach to painting in the post-war period, both in subject and style, his work often has an edgy but almost spiritual quality to it, despite Mark himself being a self-confessed atheist. Frank Auerbach is the first artist I identified with because of his obsessive working routine and also his reductionist methods of working. He describes his work as reductionist in the sense that he wants to strip everything unnecessary from a composition to give a direct physical experience of a given object. His current body of work is the Red series of portraits and figures executed in red pastel. His other role in the art world is as a curator, the main expression of which is The Tunnel, which was founded on the 12th of October 2014. An attempt to create with others a movement in an age when movements are practically extinct. They produced an ambitious manifesto with the aim of exploring art's place in the 21st century and put on numerous shows in London such as The Wasteland, inspired by the T.S. Eliot poem of the same name, The Zone, a meditation on the Tarkovsky film Stalker, and Mercerism, a show revolving around themes in Philip K. Dick's sci-fi classic Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? He is currently studying for a doctorate in fine art, where he hopes to advance his ideas around emphasising the place of painting in the contemporary art world, as well as developing his ideas around the future of painting. He says he still feels like an outsider of sorts, but his craft is a routine now, and like his painterly heroes, he continues to work hard to discover what paint can communicate in the 21st century, building a coherent language of forms. Figure in a Landscape, June 2001. This piece is my first real painting produced towards the end of my time at Halswend College. The influence of Francis Bacon is strong, not just stylistically, but I was reading a lot of T.S. Eliot at the time, and the original title for this piece was The Wasteland. Samuel, July 2006. This piece was produced while I was living in a rundown flat in Birmingham, which is one of the unhappiest periods of my life. I used this piece in my interview for my MA at Middlesex University in April 2010. I believe this painting was crucial to my unconditional offer for the course. Self-portrait, September 2014. This portrait was painted while I was in the rum factory in Wapping, using jute canvas which I would read about while studying Vincent van Gogh's Stay in Arles. I often change the type of canvas that I use because it alters the way I paint. I subsequently sold this piece to a collector. Julie, January 2016. This portrait is an example of the conciseness that I've been aiming towards my entire career, a perfect example of a construction. Madonna after Mantegna, December 2017. This image is derived from the Madonna in Sleeping Child by Andrea Mantegna, 1465. My fascination with this painting is the artificiality of the piece, which in itself laid the foundations for my reductionist theories. Study after Uccello, July 2006. This piece is one of the few remaining studies after the Rue of San Romano by Paolo Uccello, 1432. I was obsessed with this painting for many years and would visit the National Gallery once a week to make studies of this work. My fascination with this painting derived from the knowledge that the entire composition was an exercise in perspective, and not an historical work such which gives the painting a theatrical, synthetic quality. Portrait of W, June 2020. This is the best example of my red period, which began in September 2019. I consider this to be the most important phase of my development because of my obsession with colour red, and also the initial starting point for the use of this colour was the giant red dragon and the woman clothed in the sun painted by William Blake, 1805.